In this video, I'm going to show you how to make this gorgeous, easy spring wreath. This is a lovely little wreath. Just use some extra leftovers from other projects. And I'm going to show you how to put some speckles on some eggs and just make this a lovely wreath to welcome spring. So let's jump in and get started. For this project, you're going to need lots of odds and ends, but many of these things are great for kind of reusing maybe what you have on hand already. So you're going to need a wreath form. Now I'm using an 18-inch grapevine wreath. However, you can use any size you want. You can use any style you want really, but just know this is a very open look wreath form. It's just going to have a spray of things down one side. So this one whole side of the wreath will be very, very visible. So take that into account as you select your wreath. Now, of course, you can cover the whole wreath too if that's all you have, or if you want something a little bit different. But I wanted to show the branches because it's kind of like spring when things are growing. So I wanted to kind of show those branches as well. You're also going to need some silk flowers and silk greenery. I have some stuff just left over from other projects. These are some little pieces here. I'm going to cut those apart and I'm going to show you in a minute. Some little, these are like some peach hydrangeas that I've cut apart from something else. And then I had like a spray of some greenery that I was kind of using for something else and just had it left over. So again, great for leftovers. So we have our wreath, some of our greenery and flowers. You can go heavier on the flowers than I did, but I just wanted to kind of keep it very light and airy, like an early kind of spring look. Now, if you want to put eggs on yours like I did, we're going to be using some of these are actually fake eggs. They look very real and they actually have a very matte look like a real egg. But you can keep yours plain and you can see they look really pretty with this kind of greenery and flowers that we have. It's kind of like a very soft palette. But I'm going to be putting some speckles on mine, just some really subtle speckles. I grabbed some paint. This is just some acrylic paint it's called light brown, whatever you have on hand. And then I find that these fan brushes, if you kind of like use them like this, they sort of add speckles really nicely. And then whatever you want to use for painting. I like to use just a disposable paper plate as a palette. I have a glass of water, a little paper drop cloth. And then to do the assembly of your wreath and attachment, you're going to need a pair of wire cutters because the more you cut this stuff apart, the more control you're going to have of how you place it. And then you'll need a hot glue gun to kind of glue everything onto your wreath, okay? So what we're going to do first is do our egg speckles if you wanted to do this. Now, if you have other eggs, that's fine, or you want to do plain eggs, totally fine too. You could even paint them like a robin's egg blue and do speckles on that as well. It's really, again, up to you, but I'm just going to put some very subtle little brown speckles on mine. We're going to do that first so that it can dry while we assemble the wreath. Okay, so you're only going to need like the tiniest little dab of paint because we're just doing some very, very subtle little speckles. And I'm going to get this paint tube out of the way. We're going to grab our paintbrush and we're going to get it just very slightly wet. So you want to like dip it in the water and then you'll want to just kind of like shake it off or kind of squeeze it in between a paper towel or, you know, wipe it along a cloth or something like that. And then before you dip it in the paint, just make sure those bristles are nice and opened up. Just kind of run your hand over them a few times. Now, we're going to be gluing the eggs onto the wreath. So it's not important to paint the backs of these, okay? We're just going to kind of do the tops and the sides. All right, so we're taking a slightly damp brush and we're just going to drag it into the paint. Now the name of the game here is not too thick, so you can even kind of wipe it away, all right? Then we're going to take our brush and we're going to hold it over our eggs. I'm going to kind of keep them over here because I have my paint over here. But we're just going to kind of keep our eggs on one side, get them nice and arranged how you want, and then just hold your brush directly over and just have like a couple inches in between here. And you're just going to take your brush and just sort of very gently flick paint onto it. Make sure you get all the extra paint off. Just kind of add your speckles. Just let them sort of fall down. Okay? Then what we'll do is we're going to let these totally dry and we're going to go assemble our wreath, leaving a little spot for the eggs and come back. okay? Okay, while our egg speckles are drying, we're gonna start prepping some of the other things that are gonna go onto our wreath. So we have some greenery here and we have some flowers. And like I mentioned before, the best way to have control over this stuff is to break it down as much as possible. Even some of these things here, these leaves, you can kind of cut them apart as well. Instead of having the shape like this, which is going to be a little more difficult to control, now you have the leaves separately so you can sort of arrange them more how you want, okay? So just break everything apart. I'm going to keep the flowers in smaller clumps, but still breaking everything down. Okay, so the next thing you're going to do is you're going to look at your wreath and you're going to trim anything. This is a little bit wild, so I'm going to cut this one back. But any branches that are a little bit too wild, you'll want to cut back. You don't want to trim it too much because some of this stuff looks nice, but you don't want it super all over the place. You know what I mean? Now, a lot of these wreaths that are made of branches like this, mine is a little bit oblong. It's not a perfect circle. So you'll want to decide if yours is sort of oval shape like mine, you'll want to decide if you want your oval upright like this or sort of like this way. So I'm going to turn mine so that it's a little bit more flattened this way. Okay, you'll also want to figure out if there's any more unattractive parts of your wreath. Those are the places you can cover with your spray of flowers. So I have this one very thick branch here that's been cut, and I don't really want that to show. This side looks nice. So as I'm doing my planning, I'm going to put my spray of flowers and eggs on this side, okay? So I'm going to kind of move that to the middle so you can see. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to start building our greenery up. And we're going to use, if you have any pieces, you can kind of slide these up on some of these. But if you have any pieces, you can start to like tuck this stuff in. And what we're doing is I'm just sort of doing like a practice run before we commit to glue of how all this is going to fit together, okay? So go ahead and glue everything down. You don't want to go too goopy because you're going to, it's going to go through it and kind of fall in the other side. Okay, now as you're gluing too, I threw something under here in case your glue does kind of goop through there. You can have a little protective area for your stuff. But we're just going to go through and we're gluing as we go. Okay, so we have our greenery down. That's kind of like the foundation. Now I did reserve a couple of leaves over here just if we need to kind of fill in a little bit, okay? Okay, so the next thing we want to determine is where we want our focal point. So on our wreath, if we draw an imaginary line straight across, this is kind of the middle. So this will be our focal point. We're going to start with the eggs and make them a little spot right here and then just sort of build everything off that. Okay, we're going to make the eggs our focal point. So my little speckled eggs have dried. I tried to make them look as natural as possible. And we're going to kind of just throw some glue down on the back of them like this and just sort of lay them in a little cluster. Okay, just kind of nestle them in that greenery here. Just throw some glue on the back of the next egg, and we're just going to sort of nestle them into this focal area here, okay? Just kind of like, almost like as if they were sitting in a nest, okay? Now, if you're worried about them looking uniform enough, it's okay. We're going to be filling in the gaps with some flowers and the other little things that we have, okay? So we're just kind of putting our eggs in a little spot here. So the next thing we want to do is we're going to start grabbing our smaller items like this. And like I said, this is where some of this stuff, it's very forgiving if you've saved some of your little flowers. You can kind of set them in the middle of things. You can sort of tuck this stuff around. So next, just start tucking. We're going to start with our little flowers. And if you have a leaf sort of that's upside down like this, at this time, just give it a flip. See how you can see there's some glue on it? We'll cover that with a flower, no problem. You can kind of twist things around, move things around as needed. And we're just going to sort of start building off of our eggs with some flowers next. Okay, I went in and I kind of filled in all the little holes, and our little eggs are through here. And it really still shows off those branches. I think the branches look pretty. It kind of looks like when those first little leaves kind of pop up on the bare trees in the springtime. So our easy spring wreath is complete. Now, I did a side spray. You could, of course, turn your wreath and have it at the top as well, and that would be very pretty as well. So that is how you make an easy spring wreath. I hope you enjoyed this video. I enjoyed making this wreath so much. If you make one, share below too. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure and click the subscribe button to get all the latest Sparkle and Splatter video updates. Bye everyone!